Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us today for our webinar. Do you understand the difference between hoists that are explosion-proof versus hoists that include spark-resistant features? In this presentation, we will discuss the differences between these features and identify the regulations, classifications, and environments these hoists are designed for. My name is Gisela Clark. I'm the social media specialist at Columbus McKinnon and will be your host for today's webinar. Joining me today will be three associates of mine: Peter Cook, our training manager specializing in rigging and load securement; Joe Runyon, vertical market specialist for oil and gas and former manager of special applications and services; and Paul Smilecki, our product manager for wire rope hoists and crane components. We are recording the session today, and the recording link will be added to our YouTube channel. All in attendance will receive a link to the recording by the end of the week. Everyone is in listen-only mode, so we encourage you to ask questions in the Q&A pane on the right side of your page. We'll take 5 minutes at the end to answer your questions. Thank you for your attention, and now I'll turn the meeting over to Peter so we can begin. Peter?
Okay. Again, just like Gisela said, we're going to define explosion-proof and spark-resistant. What that means. Hazardous locations where you may want an explosion-proof or spark-resistant or a combination of both, what those locations are. Some NEMA classifications and how we rate components of our equipment. We're going to go over explosion-proof hoist components and as well as spark-resistant hoist components so that you can see what those are and the differences between the two. So it's very important that you know the difference. A lot of people get the two mixed up, and we're going to go over that today and be sure we understand it. Again, this is just a basic overview and certainly not a substitute for any standards or regulations, but we're just giving everybody an education on what the difference between those two are. So let's begin. Explosion-proof is an electrical apparatus designed to contain explosions or flames and produce them without igniting the vapors around them. So it's going to be contained within the housing, and that's what's known as an explosion-proof. Whereas spark-resistant is actually the material something's made out of. It could be brass, bronze, monometal, copper, aluminum alloy, or copper, beryllium alloys. They have low tensile strength, they're less resistance to tearing, so therefore it's less resistance to have a spark. And we like to use the term spark resistance, not spark proof, because nothing really is spark proof. So we use the term spark resistance, and that's important to note. So you're going to use, you're going to sometimes specify either or in some of the locations. Hazardous locations are locations where fire or explosion hazards may exist due to the presence of flammable liquids, vapors, dust, or fibers. And that is defined by the NEC. And each location is divided, each hazardous location, I should say, is divided into a division, a class, and a group. And it's important that you have to identify which one you fall in. So let's define the divisions first, how they're defined. So first of all, you have two divisions. Division 1 is locations in which hazardous concentrations in the air exist continuously, intermittently, or periodically under normal operating conditions. And then you have Division 2, locations in which the hazardous concentrations are handled, processed, or used but are normally within closed containers or closed systems from which they can escape on in a case of accidental rupture or breakdown. Okay, so one is it's in the air, one they're enclosed, but you still have, anytime you're containing something, you have that danger of leakage. It would be a Division 2. From there, then we go into classes. And we have Class 1, location in which flammable gas or vapors are or may be present in the air in quantity sufficient enough to produce explosive or ignitable mixtures. Class 2, locations that are hazardous due to the presence of combustible dust. So we have, we have vapors. Now we have dust, such as could be coal dust, could be paper, like a paper mill, flour, things of that nature. Even wood dust could be that classification. Class 3, locations that are hazardous due to the presence of easily ignitable fibers or filings, I should say, but with such fibers that are not likely to be in a suspension in the air in quantities produce ignitable mixtures. So if they're present, but not enough that it could just ignite in the air, but again, it's still a hazardous situation. So know those classes. So each class then we break up into groups, and they have groups for Class 1, A, B, C, and D. And what those are, I'm not going to read those off, but you can see it depends on the type of chemical or vapor that exists. And so you would have to grab which class group that you're in. And then class 2 has groups E, F, and G. And you can see atmospheres containing metal dust or aluminum, magnesium, atmospheres containing carbon black coal or coke dust, like I mentioned. And then there's the one flour, starch, or grain dust in group G. So it's pretty, all these classes, divisions, groups, you kind of got to work your way through them to narrow down what you have. Okay? Then we get into NEMA enclosure ratings. So the NEC, those what we just talked about were specifying the hazardous locations. So you have to figure out what location you exist in a hazardous environment, and then from there you can look at the type of electrical enclosures that you would require. And so you can see non-hazardous locations, and a lot of times when you look at specifications for hoist, they'll show it's a NEMA 4 enclosure, or in this case, if we're going to hazardous locations, it'll take, say, a type 7 or type 9 enclosure. And so now we're actually talking about the electrical equipment. So there's a little bit of a separation there from the environment to now what equipment can work in certain electrical equipment that can work in certain environments. So this chart, what we did is kind of break things down. And these are the electrical hoist requirements based on the class, the group, and the division that you're in, and what we do to make those hoists usable in those environments. And again, I'm not going to read the entire chart, but you can see if we just take limit switches, we have intrinsically safe limit switches, and we're going to talk about what that is. And in NEMA, rated for NEMA floor, and they're enclosed, and that goes almost across class 1 and class 2 and all those groups above. And then, we get into class 2, group F and G, division 2, we have a NEMA 412 enclosure, so a little bit different. So you can see that as you go across, there are slight differences and modifications that we need to do the hoist. So in essence, really what it comes down to is it's very important that you understand and try to identify that hazardous location so that we can choose the right equipment, so our engineering and application engineers can work closely with you and make sure that you have the right equipment for that environment. All right, so we have charts narrowed down that way, and this easily can become available to anyone that needs it. But it's a basic overview, and it's not. These things aren't limited either to what we do. We can certainly go do things beyond this, so it's not just limited to these charts. But this is kind of a basic overview of things that we would do in those environments for our equipment. So in some cases, we're looking for a hazardous location motor. So this is a picture of a Division 1 explosion-proof motor and brake design. It's a much larger motor. The few differences between a Division 2 and Division 1 is the enclosures. We get a pretty much bigger enclosure. It's going to be more structurally sound. We're going to have hard conduit or piping that goes to it for the electrical, and the brake construction is a little bit more heavy-duty and an enclosed structure. Versus if we go to a Division 2 motor, so we actually, in our Division 2 motors, we surpass OSHA requirements. It's not an explosion-proof motor. It's a TEFC motor with additional seals around both ends of the shaft. We put our hermetically sealed thermal switches on there, so that's a safe environment to work in when that happens. And when required, some people like to have the motors tagged if they want them tagged for Division 2. So these would meet that requirement, so we could tag these motors for that. Mentioned before, intrinsically safe relays. So and many times if we can put in intrinsically safe relays, what that does, it limits the energy entering into the hazardous location. Explosion-proof enclosures and conduits aren't necessary for intrinsically safe relays because it limits the energy and limits the possibility of any type of spark that would cause an explosion. So it allows us to use standard SO cables and NEMA 4 enclosed limit switches and push-button stations. So these devices actually will help us maybe scale down what we really needed to offer because of this device. And I'll show you in a little bit. So the pendant stations aren't so huge, or the control boxes aren't humongous, and things of that nature. Again, some environments will always require the explosion-proof equipment, but we're giving you some options here where it is acceptable to get away from it if we put in intrinsically safe relays in. Again, it must maintain a 50 millimeter or 2-inch safety barrier for intrinsically safe relays and non-intrinsically safe circuits. And we use a light blue wire designated for that. So if you're someone working on the hoist, when you see the light blue wires, you know those are going to intrinsically safe relays. Okay, so one of the things we need to do for to have an explosion-proof, categorize a hoist for explosion, is have to have a 479 explosion-proof enclosure. So what does that mean? It means it's sealed for moisture, dust, and vapors. It's cast aluminum construction. The door gets bolted shut, so you can see all the bolts that go on there. I mean, we're almost like, you know, sealing a pressure vessel here. And it's designed to contain the explosion in the event that gases were to leak in there. So what do you do if you don't have intrinsically safe relays? Just like I said, you put the NEMA 7.9 enclosure in there. You put a NEMA 7.9 limit switch. And again, all those features that I just mentioned pertain to all these. And the pendant. So you can see without the intrinsically safe relays how the equipment gets much larger, much more robust, and even that pendant, that's a pretty heavy-duty pendant there. And so it does drive up costs for your equipment.
Hey, Peter, I think this would be a really good time to launch our polling question. We just want to gauge here. Thank you. What does explosion-proof equipment mean? If you all could answer these questions, we would appreciate it. Is it A, spark-resistant components designed to prevent an explosion? B, is it designed to contain an explosion in the event explosive or ignitable material leaks into the enclosure? I couldn't include all that text. Both A and B, or the last answer is designed so an explosion will not destroy the equipment. I apologize to those of you who are connected via iPad. If you are, you can shoot your answer in the Q&A pane. But again, what does explosion-proof equipment mean? Spark-resistant components designed to prevent an explosion. B, is it designed to contain an explosion? C, both A and B. Or D, designed so an explosion will not destroy the equipment. And it looks like B is the winning. 63% of you vote for B. Oh, it's starting to break up. We're at 60 for B and about 32 for C, and the balance is between A and D. Peter, can you go ahead and share the answer?
Yeah, the explosion is designed to contain the explosion in the event that vapors were to leak internally into the enclosure. So in reality, spark-resistant features are not specified, and we'll get into that. It's basically to contain the explosion within an enclosure.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Okay. So here is one of our hoists. It's the Yale Global King Shaw Box World Series hoist, and some of the modifications that we do to it is electrical components and equipment are designated by the NEC. So you can see there we have the explosion-proof enclosure there for our electrical panel, right? The responsibility of the customer relies in the type of the location, the necessary motor specifications, and the requirement for spark-resistant features. So it doesn't necessarily mean if you order an explosion-proof hoist, you're getting spark-resistant features. So the National Electric Code, it only pertains to the electrical equipment. So when you're getting something explosion-proof, that's only the electrical equipment. It does not refer to mechanical spark-resistant features, and that should be specified by the user if required. So again, I just pulled the Global King Shaw Box World Series hoist out just to kind of show a hoist. Again, what we do there, it's a NEMA 479 rated enclosure. It has metal-clad wires, sealed fittings where required, intrinsically safe 4-button push-button station. So you're not going to have the that big, huge pendant if you didn't have a intrinsically safe push button. So this will be a normal looking pendant. Standard motor with thermal leads removed and a tag Division II hazardous location motor upon request. So if they need a tag, we can do that, and what it's available in. So some spark resistant options. So here now again, you have to specify whether you want spark resistant options. Now, and maybe I'm getting a little ahead of myself here, but lot of people ask, well, why wouldn't you want spark-resistant features if you're requiring an explosion-proof hoist or electrical enclosure? Why don't you have the spark resistance? And again, I'm not saying it's always. I mean, if you have a combination of both, that's the best you can do. And certainly, you know, if you wanted to be ultra safe and do that, then certainly go for it and put the spark resistant options along with the explosion-proof electricals. However, if you think about it, in some environments, you know, you're working out there, the gases aren't really something that you're worried about. But however, there is. Let's say there are slight gas leaks and things of that nature, and they can rise up to where the hoist is. And if build up inside, if they then go inside the electrical panel, and let's say you don't have any instances of, you know, for instance, you don't have any chances of a spark igniting anything. So you could make sparks all day down towards your production floor on your floor, and nothing would ever happen. But over time, gases rise and they can build up within the electrical panel. And then when that electrical panel gets charged, it could ignite and explode. So there's the difference where, hey, all I need is an explosion proof because I have a potential of vapors building up over time within my enclosure, but I really don't have any potential in my work area down below for that to happen. So that's why you have some people that say, I know I don't need the spark resistant options and don't want to pay the extra money to do that. Now, would I downplay, try to talk someone out of doing that? If, you know, I would mention that you could save money here, but they say, no, I want to be ultra safe, then certainly I would go for the spark resistant options. I know, Gisela, that was one of the questions, but I think it was a good point to make at this point.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
So some of the spark resistant options we offer, obviously bronze shivs. So if we have a wire rope hoist, we're going to put bronze shivs. Again, these types of materials are low tearing or low resistance to spark. We can put the trolley wheels. We can do bronze trolley wheels if need be. We have bronze or copper-plated hooks. So we're finding out that a lot of times copper-plated hooks, they're holding up very well and can be classified as a spark-resistant hook. And so therefore, you know, we're doing more and more of the copper-plated stuff. But we can offer a bronze hook. We can have stainless steel spring-loaded latches, okay, included standard nylon shiv covers, the drop stops on the bumpers that we can be made of rubber, and then of course we can go into stainless steel wire rope as well. Again, a lot of times these types of metals can weaken a hoist, so you may have to step up as far as your hoist size to get to the working load limit that you need, because a lot of these spark-resistant features aren't as strong or are not as strong as if it were the alloy steels that we normally use.
That's a good point that you bring up, Peter. We have a question. Why would someone not specify spark-resistant features with an explosion-proof hoist?
Yeah, again, that's something I just mentioned. Again, the work area that you're in, there really isn't any real buildup or any chance of a buildup of gases or ignitable materials that if a spark were to happen, it would ignite. So, you know, it really isn't required, but where the gases could rise, and over time, again, if they seep into an electrical panel, they're probably going to stay there. So over time, that could build up inside that electrical panel and eventually cause an explosion within that hoist. So, you know, it's not a good thing. And so, therefore, if there's a chance of that happening, people just go with the explosion-proof and not the spark-resistant features.
I appreciate you bringing that up. I don't think it was, it's good to repeat that. And one other quick question. What do we use for explosion-proof festooning, and I think that's how you pronounce it, in power cables? If you could just address that quickly.
I'll have to get back to you on exactly what we do there because I'm not 100% sure.
Okay,
Peter,
perfect.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep, I can hear Paul.
I can answer that question.
Oh, great, Paul. Thank you. I didn't know if you were on or not.
Yep. Traditionally, because we're not the manufacturer of the cable or festooning, we leave it up to the distributor or user to supply. However, you know, if it was a requirement, you know, that we do have options through our electrification vendors for explosion-proof cable reels, and we can use, you know, stainless steel box track systems, things like that, that we have qualified for an explosion-proof application.
Okay, very good. Yeah, so there are a lot of, and that's a great question to bring up because again, how do you supply that, and what how do you contain the electrical supply feed line, and that's a very good question, and somebody probably should include it in this presentation. I'm glad that question was brought up. So then if you go, up to this point we talked about hoist and electrical components being explosion proof, but again, don't discount some other options. Can we get away with a chain fall or an air hoist? Again, an air has no electrical components, so therefore we eliminate the need for explosion proof, of course, because we have no electrical components. Now we can just put the spark resistant features on there if required. And so we offer in our Zephyr hoist stainless steel load chain, aluminum or stainless steel hand chain we can offer, bronze hooks, bronze brake ratchets, bronze trowel wheels, and bronze hook blocks. So if it's an operation where, hey, it's not something we're doing on a regular basis and I can get away with a hand hoist, it's not a production lift, we use it mostly for maintenance, things of that nature, think about a hand hoist. It'll save you a lot of money and get the spark resistant features. If you have air readily available and again, we need the speed and you're lifting large loads, then think of an air hoist. So we can do air wire rope hoist, we can do air chain hoist, as you see here in the Chester version, and a lot of things that we can do for different applications. So pretty much CM has it all that can handle your needs. So I threw an application real quick, an application quiz on here, and it said a crew is doing some maintenance in an underground coal mine. So again, that goes back to the dust and an explosive dust environment. They need a half-ton manual hoist with a 10-foot reach. Which hoist would you choose? So in this case, they specified a manual hoist, so which is a good thing. So in this case, we don't need obviously we don't have a requirement because we have no electricals for explosion proof. So now we just go to a spark resistant feature. Okay, and we have budget USA hoists that can be reconfigured with the bronze hand alloy hooks and aluminum hand chain. So we can do that readily available with our budget that's highly configurable and maintain the 5-to-1. Our Zephyr, which is an excellent hoist, again, can do a lot of special things with the Zephyr. And maybe working in a mine, you have a very low headroom situation. So the Zephyr hoist would work better there, and it has all the spark resistance and even corrosive resistant features as well that you can apply to it. In some cases, some mines require a steel housing, and the Zephyr is the only hand hoist out there that you can get that has a steel housing that can have spark resistant features. So we do that need as well. So that was just a basic broad brush of what it is between explosion proof and spark resistant features and the differences between the two. And if we can remember that explosion proof applies to the electrical equipment, spark resistant applies to the tools itself, the hooks, the things that the actual equipment that's working the hoist, the shivs, and we can do sprockets and things of that nature. So the two are big difference between the two. And again, just because you have an explosion-proof hoist does not mean you have spark-resistant hoist. And whether you need to have those spark-resistant features are totally dependent on what that end user or that customer is working in and whether they specify it or not.
Okay, Peter, excellent. We do have a couple of questions that have come in. The first one is, what type of rope is used in the spark-resistant hoist? And Paul Smilecki went ahead and commented back to everyone. I'll just read it, and then you can add to it. He said, or actually, Paul, why don't you go ahead? I apologize. I keep forgetting I've got some extra panelists on the call. Paul, would you like to go ahead and address the answer to that question?
Sure. Traditionally, when spark-resistant features are required, we would offer stainless steel rope. However, we recently launched the Global King World Series hoist with spark-resistant features, and what we chose to do in that case was provide the standard galvanized rope with the bronze shivs that Peter outlined earlier in the presentation. Now this is a level of spark resistance that others in the industry also supply, such as Detroit Hoist, and it's up to the user to accept the level of spark resistance or not. If stainless steel rope is required, We have other hoists that we can provide that with, such as the 800 series, the 700 series, the Cable King. But for the Global King, which we only provide for Division II Class 1 environments, we chose to provide it with just a standard galvanized rope along with the bronze shibs.
Great. Thank you very much for that comment. And then someone else had a comment they'd like to make, which is the NEC is very specific about the requirements. His comment is spark resistant is more subjective and the user makes the call. Would anyone like to comment on that?
Yeah, that's exactly true. I don't think there is a specification for spark resistant, is there?
No, there's not, and that's exactly right. It's up to the user to designate if spark resistant features first and foremost are required, and then if they are required, what type of features will meet your requirements. What do we need to modify? In some cases it might just be the load hook and block. It could be much more than that though. So it's really subjective.
Okay, great.
If I could add, this is Joe Runyon, and I would just say that while there is not a nationally recognized standard for spark resistant requirements for hoists in the U.S., many insurance underwriters do have requirements for spark-resistant materials, and companies would want to check with their insurance companies to verify that requirement, and then safety directors or safety managers in many facilities may also have rules and regulations regarding that. But aside from those things, in the absence of a nationally recognized standard, it is really up to the user and working with the manufacturer and their application engineers to really walk through the application and determine what is appropriate for that specific location.
Thank you very much, Joe. We appreciate that comment. Okay, a couple other things. Michael has shared with us that ductile wire has a explosion-proof festoon system. So thank you for sharing that, Michael. Sorry, spark-resistant and explosion-proof. And Shally had also asked a question. We mentioned capacity reduction with spark-resistant features when they're used. Are there resources for us available to us to calculate this, or would the capacity loss information come with the actual quote? It's a very interesting question. Yes.
I would like to address that.
Sure.
In most cases, if our application engineers are quoting, they do reference the model number of the hoist, which indicates the standard size or capacity, and then in the body of the quote, it will mention that the unit is derated or tagged for a lesser capacity, and on the subject as well, although some spark-resistant materials require derating of some hoists, that is not a standard rule of thumb. There are things that we can do, such as the galvanized rope and copper-plated hooks, which would not require derating in most cases, whereas stainless steel rope and solid bronze hooks it could require derating the hoist.
Excellent. Thank you.
I'd like to make another.
Please.
I'd like to make another point there, so that I would not take it. If I had a standard hoist that I think I'm going to move into a hazardous location, I would not try to modify that hoist on my own and put spark-resistant features on there. There are some certain things that we do, especially in chain hoist, things of that nature, to accept some spark-resistant features, such as if we're going to do stainless steel chain, we do put special lift wheels in so that we don't chew the chain up and things of that nature. So don't just take it upon yourself to convert something over that you're going to feel will be spark resistant. You need to call the original manufacturer and ask what needs to be done.
Excellent. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Joe. And Shelley, if you have any other questions regarding that, please feel free to share it with us. Another question has come in. Would CMAA or ANSI cover the spark-resistant guidelines?
There is no reference to spark-resistant materials in the ANSI B30.16 hoist standard. I am not aware of any specific requirements in the CMA standards either.
Okay, excellent, thank you. Chris is asking, can your assemblies be UL registered?
The assembly could be UL registered, but it would be a very time-consuming and costly proposition. Typically, what we would do is provide electric hoists with UL labeled components, as opposed to going through the process of getting the entire assembly UL listed.
Okay, thank you. Another question has come in. Can we get electric chain hoist in explosion-proof format?
We can provide some of our electric chain hoist for most hazardous locations, explosion-proof locations. The Chester electric chain hoist can be provided for either Class 1 or Class 2 and Division 1, Division 2. Some of our other products, electric chain hoist, can be provided for Division 2 only. But those are issues that our application engineers can work with you on and make sure that we steer you to the right product for your application.
Excellent. Thank you. Does anyone else have anything? If you have any more questions you'd like to ask, we still have a few more minutes. We're going to cover another slide or two, and then we'll have another little pocket of time to answer those. So feel free to type them in, but that's it for now. So Peter, you can go ahead and cover our upcoming classes.
Yep. The first class, it's a little bit, I'm sorry, it's a little bit of a misprint. That's the first class in Charlotte, May 29th to May 1st. That's actually an overhead crane and hoist inspector certification class, not the rigging workshop. That's not coming up in Charlotte. We have a chain and wire rope hoist repair class, certification class, coming at our Niagara Training Center near Buffalo, May 5th through 9th. Then we're doing an overhead crane operator and qualified rigger workshop, May 19th to the 22nd, which is, if you want to really, we have 2-3 ton overhead cranes and all kinds of loads to lift, and you walk away with a certification through the CIC if you so wish to, and Joe can attest to that. It's a pretty intense class, and Joe who's on the phone with us has taken that class and can attest that we really it's a very hands-on workshop, and we cover everything from top to bottom. So it
really is. Having worked in the hoist and crane business for over 30 years, I just recently went through the rigging certification training, and I have to say that it was challenging and very informative, and I would highly recommend it to anyone.
Excellent.
And again, we can do a lot of our classes on site. So if you have a large group of people where it's not feasible to obviously send everyone to us, we can definitely try to see if we can come to you, and depending on what kind of class that you need.
Okay, a question just came in regarding the costs. What we'll do is at the end of the session, I'll send an email to everybody with a link to the recording, and I'll also include a link to our training site, and depending on what class you take, all the prices are listed there. It just ranges depending on how long the class is and the content, if there's certification involved. So all that information you can check up. It's actually on our CM Depot site, but like I said, I will share a link with that after the meeting, and you can go there and look at the individual classes that you might be interested in. At this point, Peter, I'd like to go, just to gauge your interest, I'd like to do two more quick polling questions. The first one is just seeing if you are interested in becoming a certified CMCO chain hoist repair technician or taking any inspection or rigging training. We're just curious. The answers are yes within 1 to 3 months, yes within 3 to 6 months, yes within 6 to 12 months, or no, I'm not interested. We just like to get some information and just be honest with us. We appreciate that very much. Thank you very much. Great. I'll let you do that just another second. And before we wrap up, and like I said, I can check for any more final questions. I'll let you finish up that. I'm also going to ask how you learned about this webinar. It's just good feedback for us. We're very active on social media, and we also communicate with you in very different ways. So we like to have feedback on that as well, and this will be the last question. So how did you hear about our webinar? Was it through email communication, an e-blast? Was it through LinkedIn? Facebook, Twitter, or possibly your Columbus McKinnon distributor or representative. We'd love to hear the feedback again of how you learned about this webinar. Thank you very much. We are, like I said, trying to grow and get more involved on our social media sites, and so this is great information. I'll let you go there. Okay, and let's just see, there is another question that comes in. Do we offer a sales or application class? Peter, would you like to go ahead and take that question?
Yes, we do. It's called the CMCO University, and again, it's on our. It'll be on our website that Gisela will send you that link to, and it's actually a 3-day, two and a half day course, and we go through all the rigging product features and benefits, manual hoists, including lever and chain falls, right through electrical, wire rope hoist, and operating different types of cranes, so you have a very sound understanding of all the products that Columbus McKinnon offers, and it's quite a products, and it's hosted here at our Niagara Training Center, where all our products are here that you can touch, feel, operate, and ask any questions. We have our product experts usually on hand for that class that can answer any questions, and then you get to meet a lot of the people at Columbus McKinnon behind the scenes who actually talk to you on a daily basis.
Excellent. Well, I'll just trying to see if there are any more questions, but I know we need to wrap up, so I'll just conclude with this. Okay, there's one more question. Do we offer the sales, I think it's the sales training at Ohio, let's see. Do we also offer the sales calls at Ohio State University? Are you?
No, at this time it's done in our
class, sorry.
It's all done at the, yeah.
I'm sorry, Peter, go ahead and elaborate where the classes are held.
Yeah, the Sales University is held at our Niagara Training Center because we have every product here at our Niagara Training Center that we can show, and we don't have it at all the product at our Columbus, Ohio facility. So we always host it here in Buffalo because everything that we sell is in this building that is capable of being used and looked at.
Okay, thank you very much. Those are very good questions. And again, when you get our contact information, feel free to email me or Peter, or like I said, we're going to give you different resources where you can look up information. But I just wanted to also let you know of a few other resources you may or may not be aware of. We have a blog. We have over 125 articles. I'll also send a link to that. You can find it on our main website, which is cmworks.com. There's a little cluster of icons in the top right corner, but it has all different kinds of articles written by more than 20 people at our company, and it touches on industry news, product specifics, questions asked by you, our customers, our channel partners, and it just covers a whole gamut of information. It's a great resource for anything hoist and rigging related. We're on Twitter. You can find us at CMCO Live or CM Entertainment, so look for us there. We're extremely active, and I'll love to engage with you there. We're also on Facebook. You can find us just under Columbus McKinnon. We have a YouTube channel with tons of videos. I think we're over 65 videos now, recordings, and this is exactly
great for toolbox sessions. Those YouTube videos, if you go to our YouTube channel, Gisela, I mean, if you want to have hard hat sessions, toolbox sessions, webinars like this are all recorded. Just a lot of information on YouTube.
Yeah, he brings up a good point. You can pull up any snippets that we have there and share them internally, and hopefully it'll be a good resource. And we also have a lot of updates on our LinkedIn company page if you're active there, and also Google+, for those of you that are active there. But we want to thank everyone for your participation. We love to hear your feedback after you get our emails, or the email that will be coming from me with the resources I mentioned. If you'd like to, give us some feedback and let me know what you thought, or what we could do better, or what you'd like us, maybe a topic you'd like us to cover in the future. We'd love to hear that. So I appreciate Paul and Joe being on the call as well with Peter and I today. And if there are any questions typed in at this point, Peter will personally respond to them. So thank you again for your time, and we appreciate your participation. Bye-bye.